what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to another episode of the Design Factory. This is a slightly different format because reasons. There's not a specific reason. I wanted to try like that. And this is Mr. Microphone. Super hairy, super fluffy. It's gonna take us company for the entire time of the video. It's gonna be in the front, so super awkward, and I'm sorry about that, but that's how I roll, because I like the microphone in front. No, sorry, it's just like random. But anyway, what I want to do today, I want to keep going with the design of my website. And if we take a look of the status, like how we are right now, we just completed the entire first page. So we have a beautiful header introduction. We have all the section that we liked, and we got these blocks, and I'm gonna reuse these components because I want to maintain the consistency throughout the rest of the website. And we have the forum section with blog, a little about me, and this beautiful footer that wraps everything and closes the entire website. So it's a pretty nice end of the page. But before doing other pages, I wanna focus and I wanna spend a little bit more time to design also the user interaction. So what happens when the user uses the page? Like when he goes on rollover on a specific button, on a specific link, what's going on here on the top menu, and what's gonna happen when we have all these little button or these like small nice little thingy here. So what's gonna happen when the user clicks on this sort of like option section? So all this kind of stuff, they need to be designed. We cannot leave them out, especially if we are designers, if we're doing design and we're gonna pass this design to a developer. We cannot leave this stuff like, okay, something's gonna happen, I don't care. We have to design it. We have to carefully think of what an interaction is gonna produce, what an interaction is gonna create, and design it properly. So first, it's gonna be easier for us to better control the overall design and better control whatever user is gonna do. We can control the entire user journey. And second, doesn't matter if we are developers or the development is gonna be handled by someone else, we know what to do and the developers will know what to do. So it's really important. It's something that most of the time gets forgotten, and it happens all the time that a developer has to ask to a designer, what's the rollover effect of this button? So you want this drawer to open, like what's gonna be this drawer, the open drawer. So we need to take care of a bunch of different things. So let's get started. So first I want to duplicate my artboard, and here I'm still always using Sketch. So the functionality of Sketch of duplicating artboard, it's really useful. And I'm gonna call this desktop home, simply like hover, because I'm gonna take care of all the rollover effect and interactions of the user. So let's start designing this thing. Of course, as you can see here, this page is starting to get a little bit messy. Like we have all these lines, all these kind of stuff. The design is really different from what it's the actual design of the page, but we don't have to care because this is not gonna be something we will use for design, or we're gonna like carry over other sections, whatever. This is just a reference page to understand and remember everything we want to do with our interaction, so all the rollover effects. And try also in this situation to create a consistency. So if the main menu here, for example, we have this system that I want to use, this dynamically moving lines that I still haven't designed yet, if these lines will grow somewhere, will appear magically, or like will move around the header. But because we have this rollover effect with double lines, probably we should maintain something similar, so we can use a line also for the rollover effect of this secondary menu, like the login and sign up section. We can use a line for this small underneath button here, and because everything pretty much in the header area we're not using colors, we're using all the highlights and all this kind of stuff are white, fully white. Let's convert the button from a hollow button, like open button, with a sort of like background opacity that enhance the depth of field or enhance the saturation of the background image. Here we can just fill it completely white, and if we step back and we take a look, even if this looks massive, we have too many lines, too many things, it's consistent, so it maintains the interactivity and the consistency of all the interactions that we have in this section, and this is really important. So let's keep going and try to maintain everything consistent, and let's add more interactions to this beautiful page. Of course, sometimes happens that while you're designing, you're not really sure what type of functionality you want to add on a specific section, and this is totally fine. Like, we cannot be 120% sure what's gonna be, like what a section, how a section is gonna work. So most of the time it's just useful to do the most realistic mock-up or do the most realistic design possible to this section. Like, in the future, I'm not sure that I'm gonna have like a follow, a rate, or a favorite section in this design, but at least now I designed the drawer. I know that when a user clicks on this little option here, the three dots, this icon has to rotate, the drawer has to come from the right side, and I will have a bunch of links. So this simple design, just this simple site section, is giving me a hint of what I have to build or how I have to build this section, or for the developers that is going to build this website, how this blog needs to be built in order to accommodate a dynamic drawer that comes dynamically on top of this section. So even if most likely I won't gonna have this list, this exact list of links, and probably the style of the links is gonna change slightly, at least I have the hint, or like, this is what it's gonna look like, this is what I need in this specific section, so let's code this stuff. This is really useful. Most of the time, doing interactions and doing design interactions is not actually seeing what exactly will look like, what all the icons on all the text, all the links will be. it's most likely, especially in these early stages of design where we have just one page, it's putting your brain, putting your mind on this state, like the realization that this section is dynamic, it's not static, and something is gonna happen when the user interacts with this section. So always remember this, always try to design as much as possible. Every time there's an update of your style, there's a section that updates when the user interacts with it. So never forget this stuff, or you're gonna have a really hard time when you're actually developing, or if a developer is coding your design, he's gonna be really mad at you. So we don't want a mad developer. Mad developer is a bad thing for our sanity. So stay super chill. Let's try to enjoy this. So here's something else that it's interesting, like to give it a little bit of more thought. So I want to create this section that when I go and roll over it, this block is going to generate a drop shadow. So if I just activate the drop shadow, and by default I do that, this is the result that I'm going to have. Of course, I can edit it and put it at whatever situation I want, but this type of drop shadow, that is the default drop shadow that you have when you generate something in Photoshop, Illustrator, or you do it also in code, is not really a correct drop shadow. We shouldn't do this because it's actually not true. So a shadow underneath the object, it happens in real life because the object is technically lifted, like is detached from the plane where it lives. So these other two blocks are on a plane, this one is slightly up, so it's floating. In real life, when we have a source of a light source that generates a shadow, the shadow is smaller than the object that generates the shadow. So the fact that the shadow is exactly as big as the object is actually incorrect. And visually, it looks kind of weird. Like right now we are used to this kind of visualization because everyone uses this type of drop shadow, but visually it's actually really weird for our brain. So we have to create a more realistic type of drop shadow. Especially the material design library from Google is pretty good in explaining how a proper drop shadow should be built to make it more realistic and having a better effect even compared to the standard drop shadow. So let's take a look on how to do it. First of all, we select, of course, the element that we want to create a drop shadow. Let's remove completely this drop shadow. We have to trace another rectangle on top or whatever. We can duplicate the same element that we are using to generate the drop shadow. In my case, the element is just an image, so I don't want to duplicate the image. I just need a rectangle. Let's remove the border. Let's fill the rectangle completely black, and let's put it underneath. Now with this rectangle, we can move it. First, I want to move the card actually 10 pixels on top, so it's going to be detached and it's going to be there. This, I want this to be the drop shadow, so I'm going to apply a Gaussian blur to make it super blurry, and it's going to simulate the shadow. For now, I want just a shadow of like maybe 8 pixel, a shadow, whatever, and I want to decrease the opacity to make it more like less punchy, so 60% of opacity. We are pretty much in the same situation that we had before, but now what we can do, because we have the detached element, we can shrink it down from the center. So let's scale it down a little bit and let's move it down. And here, that's it. This is the result of my drop shadow. Did you see, like, do you see how everything changes? If I do the same for this one, for example, I create this and activate drop shadow, and I go like 1, 2, 3, basically I give it the same option. So 6 pixel of blurriness and 50% of opacity. Let's do the same. So this one is dark at 50%. I go down of 10 pixel and then I give 6 pixel blurriness. Look like the difference. It's completely different. Let me try to simulate the same thing, but I cannot actually do it because look at these two different, like this shadow looks really fake compared to this one. This shadow is giving the object a better depth. Like this object looks like a real piece of paper, like a real card that is lifted from a plane underneath, and the shadow is legit. Of course, the more we reduce the size of the shadow, the more we are saying that the card is detached from the actual plane. So if we want to have this simulation of a plane really far away, we can shrink the shadow more and more, and then we can change the location. And of course, the farther is the object from the plane, the less punchy and the less saturated is the shadow, because the object is not close enough to generate a darker shadow. It gets like blurrier and it gets lighter. So always remember this, how the light works, and try to see how your end works and how everything reacts, or like do it, like put a source of light on top, take a card, and see how the shadow reacts to the specific thing. Here we have also another interesting situation that we could spend a little bit more time analyzing it. So it's the issue of too many interactions. So this is my block list, or like my recent blog updates. And when a user goes on rollover, first I want to for sure highlight the title, because I want this to be clickable. But to be more accessible, I should make the entire section clickable. So also the image has to be clickable, not only the title. And this comes the problem. Do I need to give the image a rollover effect like I'm doing here? Probably like I want to darken the image, like giving a little bit of opacity and then creating an icon on top to say to the user, if you click here, you're gonna go into another section, like you're gonna actually access the blog post and you're gonna read it. So should I manage an interaction, and when are too many interaction too much? Like when, like what's the number of proper interactions to have on a specific section? I don't know. I don't really know, because I cannot see the animation of this section. I cannot see how this is gonna work and this is gonna look like. So I'm gonna leave the design with a couple of options. The first option is both text red and an animation or a different interaction for the image. The second option is just the title in red and the image simply like that. So I'm gonna try that during development, or it's a good way of communicating to a developer. These are two ideas that I'm not sure which one is gonna work, so please prototype both, or please realize both. It's really easy to realize one of the other. It's just like a class swapping. So let's create these two and let's see which one works better and which one we will adapt. And of course, let's remember to specify like what other sections are clickable if it's not the entire section. If you have like the comments or the category you want to be clickable, or the date, always remember to highlight also that section. So we're saying also in this way to the developers or ourselves that this entire block is not gonna be entirely clickable, but we are gonna have some specific sections that are external, that are not related to the actual blog, generic blog link, but we can jump to the category section or the comment section or whatever. So always highlight something. If you have a specific link in a main parent clickable box, remember to specify also that section. So it's pretty much it for this episode of the Design Factory. We saw all the interactions that I wanna apply to my page, and we also noticed a bunch of weird things that it's normal not to know. Like, we cannot be 100% sure about our design. I mean, we should, but most of the times we cannot be 100% sure of what something in a design process is gonna look like when it's actually built, when it's actually coded. So always try to prototype as much as possible if you have the opportunity, and leave the options open, because nothing is static, everything can be changed pretty quickly. So always remember, design interactions, try, never get frustrated, and always put your ideas, if you're not sure, apart on a side. Never cancel and never delete it. Always leave it like that as an option, and you can prototype it in real life during the development process, and it's gonna be awesome. So thank you so much guys for checking this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think about this video and leave a comment below in the comment section. And of course, if you have a couple of minutes, you can check the support me page. There's the link in the description below, where you can check all different ways and methods to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you, also for design, not only development. So it's gonna be awesome. Thank you so much guys, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.